If you love true crime stories, creepy horror tales, and chilling creepypastas, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and don't miss out on the terrifying stories that will keep you hooked. Hit the bell icon so you're always the first to know when a new story drops. In the quiet town of Greenwood, there was an old school with an eerie reputation. It wasn't just the creaky walls or the dim lights in the hallways. It was the presence of Mr. Murdoch, a math teacher who had taught generations of students. Mr. Murdoch was strict, cold, and had a way of looking at you that sent chills down your spine. He always wore the same old suit, and his face was expressionless, like he was hiding something dark inside. Nobody knew much about his past, but everyone feared him. Students whispered about him, saying he was more than just a teacher. Have you ever met a teacher you couldn't stand? One who made you feel small, humiliated, and powerless? That was Mr. Murdoch. He abused his power, mocked students in front of the whole class, and seemed to enjoy every moment of it. For years, Mr. Murdoch had complete control over his students. They followed every instruction, finished every assignment, and never dared to question him. But things changed when a new student named Alex joined the school. Alex was brave and confident, never scared of anyone, not even Mr. Murdoch. This angered the teacher. Alex didn't know it then, but he had unknowingly made a dangerous enemy. As time passed, more and more students began to fail Mr. Murdoch's math class, especially during the final exams. The school had a strange tradition. Students who failed their exams would often leave the school, ashamed and defeated. Everyone believed they ran away to avoid facing their failure, but Alex started to notice something odd. The students who left were never seen again, not even in town. They simply vanished, as if they never existed. The day of the final exams arrived. Alex was confident and finished his test quickly. But when he handed in his paper, Mr. Murdoch looked at him with a sinister smile. The answers are not just on the paper. You must see beyond the numbers, Murdoch said cryptically, his voice echoing in the silent room. Alex didn't know what Murdoch meant, but he felt uneasy. When the results were announced, more than 90% of the students passed in every subject, except math. Alex and a few others had failed miserably. It didn't make sense. Alex knew he had answered everything correctly. The students went to Mr. Murdoch, pleading with him to reconsider, but he coldly refused. You either pass or you don't. That's how life works, he said with a smirk. Frustrated and angry, Alex formed a group with the other failed students. They were tired of being bullied by Mr. Murdoch and wanted revenge. Their initial plan was simple: break into his house and teach him a lesson he would never forget. They wanted to scare him, maybe break a few things to let out their anger. Little did they know, their plan would lead them into a nightmare. Late one night, the group put on black masks, grabbed baseball bats, and made their way to Mr. Murdoch's house. His home was old, large like a mansion, but in poor condition, with broken windows and ivy crawling up the walls. It looked abandoned, just like the kind of place you'd see in a horror movie. They broke in easily. The door creaked open, almost as if it was inviting them in. Inside, the house was strangely empty. There was no furniture, no photos, nothing that looked like someone lived there. The rooms were bare, cold, and filled with an unsettling silence. But the students were focused on their mission. They split up, searching each room for Mr. Murdoch. Suddenly, one of the students called out from another room. Everyone rushed over, expecting to find Murdoch hiding. Instead, they found something far more disturbing. The room was filled with strange symbols and carvings on the walls. There were old books scattered on the floor, filled with bizarre drawings of rituals and dark magic. It didn't take long for them to realize Mr. Murdoch wasn't just a cruel teacher. He was obsessed with something dark and evil. Alex picked up one of the books and started flipping through it. He found drawings of young people surrounded by candles, their faces twisted in pain. Mr. Murdoch believed that by harnessing the energy of young minds, he could extend his life. That's why he failed students to keep them close, to keep feeding his twisted rituals. The group felt uneasy, but they decided to keep searching. They made their way toward the basement, where they believed Murdoch might be hiding. The basement door was heavy, and it took several students to push it open. As they stepped inside, they were hit with the stench of decay. The air was thick and foul, like something had been rotting for a long time. They switched on the lights, and what they saw was beyond anything they could have imagined. The basement was a chamber of horrors. The walls were covered with gruesome carvings and symbols. Severed limbs hung from hooks, and disfigured bodies were sprawled across tables. Some were still twitching, while others groaned in agony. Heads dangled like trophies, their eyes wide open in permanent terror. The smell was unbearable, like a mix of rotting meat and something far worse. It felt like they had stepped into a nightmare, something you only see in horror movies. The students were frozen in fear. They wanted to scream, to run, but they were paralyzed by the sheer terror of what they were seeing. They realized that the missing students hadn't run away. They had been taken by Mr. Murdoch, sacrificed in his twisted rituals. Panic set in as the lights began to flicker. Shadows danced on the walls, and the students could hear whispers, low and menacing, echoing through the basement. Suddenly, one of the students vanished. They heard his scream, but when they looked around, he was gone. One by one, they started disappearing, pulled into the darkness by unseen forces. The screams were deafening, echoing through the chamber, but no matter how hard Alex searched, he couldn't find his friends. It was like the walls themselves were swallowing them whole. Alex was the only one left. He could hear the faint screams of his friends echoing from deeper in the basement. Gathering his courage, he walked toward the noise. The basement seemed to stretch on forever, twisting and turning in impossible ways. Finally, he found his friends tied to a pole, their faces pale and lifeless. Before he could do anything, a dark figure emerged from the shadows. A monstrous creature with glowing eyes and sharp, jagged teeth. It was the beast Mr. Murdoch had been trying to appease. The creature moved quickly, slashing at the students one by one. Alex watched in horror as his friends were killed in brutal, bloody ways. He could do nothing but watch as their screams faded into silence. He wanted to help, but his body wouldn't move. He was trapped, frozen by fear. With every ounce of strength, Alex managed to turn and run. He sprinted toward the stairs, every step feeling like an eternity. As he reached the top, he saw Mr. Murdoch standing by the door. Murdoch was blocking his escape. "You weren't supposed to see this," Murdoch said calmly, as if he was talking about something trivial. Without thinking, Alex swung his baseball bat and hit Murdoch in the stomach. The teacher doubled over in pain, and Alex bolted out of the house. He ran straight to his friends' families and told them everything. But when they went back to the house, there was nothing in the basement. No bodies, no monster, just an empty, dusty room. The police interrogated Murdoch, but he denied everything. He said Alex had broken into his house, tried to steal things, and then attacked him. Alex was arrested, accused of trespassing and assault. He was released later, but no one believed his story. They thought he had made it all up because he couldn't handle failing his exams. Things went from bad to worse for Alex. He started seeing his dead friends everywhere, their hollow eyes staring at him. Their mouths whispered things he couldn't understand. The monster from the basement haunted his dreams, calling him, and Mr. Murdoch's laughter echoed in his mind. Alex's parents, desperate and scared, took him to a psychiatric hospital, where he spent years trying to forget the horrors he had seen. But the memories never faded, and neither did the nightmares. The story of Alex and Mr. Murdoch became an urban legend, a warning to students about the dark secrets that can hide behind closed doors. The truth about Mr. Murdoch's basement was never proven, but the chilling message remains. Beware of those who seem too quiet, too cold, and too strange. They might be hiding more than just secrets. They could be hiding pure evil. If you like this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button, share it with your friends, and let us know what you think in the comments. Turn on the bell so you don't miss our next scary story. There's always more to come.